we go. Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. Some of you I've spoken with already. My name is Jeff Johnston. I'm the Assistant Director of Graduate Admissions, and I will be here in the chat to help answer questions or anything like that. We will have an open Q&A, which you can, of course, come off of mic and or turn on your camera if you're so inclined. I know you're joining us from many different time zones. So yeah. And also here is in for the admission side is Javon. Javon, you want to say hey?
Hey everyone, Javon Nascimento. I'm also here from Grad Admissions, so helping Jeff out. Again, here to answer any of the, boring process, application, technical questions, not the fun part. We have our esteemed guest here for that today. So, the person that you actually came to listen to while me and Jeff will help out and facilitate everything. So, Jasmine, I will pass it along to you and you can take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, folks. It is really lovely to kind of meet you. We have about an hour together. My name is Jasmin Darznik. Thanks to Jeff and Javon for that intro. They're always like so helpful in these sessions where they can pop in, information, websites in the chat, and they'll probably keep an eye on any questions y'all have. So I'm really glad they're here with me. I'm the chair. I think I said that. A very long day, so I am. I'm on fumes right now. So just a confession. But I'm chair of the program. I've been chair for the last 3 years. I've been teaching at CCA since about 2014, and I've been located in the MFA Creative Writing program for the last 8 years. So I know it as a faculty member and then most recently as chair of the program. I'm a novelist. I also write creative nonfiction, just kind of a little bit of what I do. In the program, I teach seminars, I teach workshop, I teach what needs teaching. I teach what needs teaching. But I have particular interest in immigrant writing and writing about historical episodes. I write a lot about women who've been, in a way, lost to history. So those things tend to work into my teaching as well. So we're going to spend about an hour together. I'll give you a brief overview. I think, probably most of you have already got some sense of what CCA MFA writing is about, but I'll take you through the highlights as I see them, and then we'll leave lots of time for your questions, and I can, help you with any more kind of particular questions about application or sort of, anything to do with writing a personal statement, that sort of thing. I'm also happy to address any aspect of your application. So can I just get a quick, like, there are a few of us in the room who have not introduced themselves. Can I get folks, if you're comfortable, to just say your name, where you're zooming in from, and what you write? And I'm going to start with Nadia, just because you're right beneath me on the square.
Hi, my name's Nadia. I live in Oakland, but I'm actually zooming in from San Carlos today. Um, and I write poetry and fiction.
Okay. Lovely to have you here. I think we've corresponded too a little bit.
Yes, we did. Thank you for answering my many questions I had.
That's what I'm here for. Glad to see you here. Do you want to call on someone, Nadia?
Sure, I will call on Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm zooming in from Nantucket, Massachusetts, and I write mostly poetry, with doing a lot of artist books, with a background in graphic design. So,
Terrific.
um,
Welcome, Sarah.
thank you. Um, Christine.
Hi, my name is Christine. I am zooming in from the Mission in SF where I live, and I write mostly fiction. I'm gonna pass it over to Fareed. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name.
Not at all. What I like about my name is that it's actually pronounced quite differently by different people. Hi, I'm Farid. I'm zooming in from Jakarta, Indonesia. Yep, I mostly write fiction. Most lately have been focusing on short stories, actually.
Mm.
Shall I call another one who has not? Is that Javan?
Javon has
Yeah,
introduced
All
himself.
we can
right.
read. I know a few of you just rejoined, but or just joined after we started introducing. But
Yeah.
me and Jeff are here from grad admissions.
Yeah.
So we're here to help out Jasmine for the couple
Sorry,
of
I
you
mean,
that joined after.
I stole your spotlight there. You could have seized it. So
All
welcome
good.
everybody. Really nice to have you all here. And I like that it's an intimate group. We record these sessions so they're available for other people later on. But Sophia.
Hi, sorry, I was just like getting my charger and plugging everything in, which no one needs to see. Hi.
Hi.
I can do a quick intro as
I
well.
would love that.
Okay. Hello, I'm Sophia. I'm from Hong Kong, but I moved to the Bay Area quite recently and now live in San Francisco. And I write mainly fiction. But my day job is being an illustrator, so a lot of like the stuff I do for livelihood stuff is illustrating children's books. But my fiction writing that I do for myself and I would like to do for an MFA program is more centered around oh, I should join a writing club. Okay, thanks.
Already making friends.
You. Yeah, it's mainly around sort of Hong Kong politics and trying to use the sort of censorship around there and work ways around it by using fiction.
Mm, terrific. I love that people are coming from such different places. It's really terrific. Lovely to meet you, Sophia. Uh, at least somewhat virtually, that is. So I was just running through, I don't know, if you caught that last bit, Sophia, but I was saying we have an hour together and I'm going to hit some of what I think are the distinctive features of the program, and then really the rest of the hour is yours. Here to answer any questions and kind of go deep on the most pressing issues for all of you. So I am,
Can
Do
I
you think you have one
introduce
more?
myself? Yeah.
wait, more people are coming.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you might have the off-camera ones hidden. Courtney's here too.
I
Oh,
apologize.
sorry. I'm Courtney. I'm calling in from Boston, Massachusetts, and I write poetry and creative nonfiction.
Welcome, Courtney.
Thank you.
Yeah. You have a near neighbor in Sarah who's on Nantucket. Sarah is on the call.
Hi, Courtney.
Hi, go Massachusetts. Woo!
So great. It probably turns out that like lots of people, or it would just take a little bit of digging and you might
Mhm.
find lots of connections. So let's go ahead and I'll give you some of what I think of our distinctive features. I mean, first and foremost, it's we are embedded in an arts college, which makes us different. It's got the vibe of an arts college. It's got the resources. It has the a little bit of the punk edge of of a rock band. No, it's got a little bit of the kind of the edge maybe that you might associate with an arts college. In the sense, I would say that people are really, they're very creative, very multifaceted. It's not unusual to find that somebody has a background in theater. Even just listening to a few of you, you've got really interesting, diverse practices. So that tends to be, a kind of student that we really love, and we've got plenty of them. Um, at the college, and I think the college is really set up to be a very vibrant atmosphere, whether you consider yourself a multidisciplinary artist or not. But being in that art school is pretty special. We're also at a new campus. It's actually, I don't think Jeff and Javon have the most flattering photographs of our campus, but it's a beautiful space. And we're like, if you look to the left, just above Javon's ear, that's where we're situated on the fourth floor. It's our new homeroom studio, which is it's really a special spot. It's kind of like our hangout zone, and it's where we have our classroom as well and conference room. But all around, there are maker spaces. So there's printmaking space, beneath us, and there are MFA fine art studios around us. And so there are a lot of really interesting kind of, you know, crossing of paths as people go about their days. And that's pretty special, I think, as well. My colleagues are not academics, they're artists, which I love. I didn't necessarily know like I would love that so much, but I really have come to appreciate, that I could be sitting next to a weaver or a sculptor or a filmmaker. It makes for a really it makes for a really special community. We're in San Francisco, which I think is pretty special, having grown up in the Bay Area. San Francisco is a great literary city, so a place, really steeped in literary history and still has a wild, beating literary heart, despite all the changes. So it's home to places like City Lights Books and the Bay Area Book Festival. Litquake, which just happened, and we've got a lot of cool connections with these various outfits, associations, also great presses in the Bay Area, like The Believer, McSweeney's, Ziziva, myriad really interesting independent presses are located in San Francisco. And they're not just in the background. I would say it's really interesting, like the ways that you can interact with these places. So in one case, like with Litquake, we partner with them every year, and the second year students read as part of the showcase at the end of Lit Quick, which is like I would have killed for an opportunity like that, I think, before when I was in graduate school. But we also hosted Lit Quake, which is like a huge literary, it's a 2-week literary festival in San Francisco. And we hosted their writers weekend at CCA this year. So it's very cool the way we're kind of, finding ways to play, with the larger Bay Area literary community. And thanks, Jeff. If you don't know about Litquake and you want to know, they're an amazing organization. Um, and that would mean also, potentially internships, maybe it means you write a book review, there are a lot of things that are made possible by that proximity. I think our faculty is pretty awesome, I gotta say. Um, mostly we're tenure track faculty and we are reliably there for you. So I don't know like how much you know about the ways that higher education or, MFA programs are structured, but um, we really pride ourselves in that we're educators, right? We're not just like writers with a day job. We all really love to teach. I love to teach. And we're as dedicated as professors as we are writers. So I think that's really special. And the adjuncts that are with us have been with us in some cases like 20, 30 years, and they choose, I would say they choose to be adjuncts in some cases because it allows for them to have like, different it opens up different things for their writing practice or their lives in some way, but they're as much a fixture in the program as any of the tenure track faculty. So like we're really tight as a group. And the other thing I would say is like I think we span a pretty diverse range of genres and aesthetics, and like there's no typical like one of us in a sense. So I write literary historical fiction, which is like sort of on the more commercial end of things, and then Trisha Lowe, my colleague, does like super cool experimental stuff. And it just runs the gamut, right? So you can have Tom Barbash, who's, again, sort of like me more in the commercial fiction realm, and then Faith Adiele, who teaches creative nonfiction and travel writing. And she's writing, in a lot of journals, newspapers, arts publications. So she's got like a hand in the more journalistic world of writing. I would definitely take a peek at people's bios, and I'll show you later where you can learn a little bit more. But just wanted you to know that that you can really kind of find someone, probably sort of like with interests that align with yours. We actually just hosted Christine yesterday, and Christine got to meet my colleague Eric Olson, and I think it thrilled Eric because as soon as Christine saw Eric, she was like, "You're Eric Olson. You write speculative fiction," and I just like I loved that you knew that about him, and and they were able. I hope you had like a good experience, like just chatting with Eric last night. So just to let you know, like there are a lot of there are a lot of different genres and ways of writing that we represent as a faculty, and that translates into, I think, a more kind of expansive sense of what's possible for you too. Um, Let's see. The structure of the program is interesting too. Like I wanna get a what is it, like a trademark because I feel so confident about this, but I believe that we offer more semesters of mentored studies than any other program in the country. Like if anyone wants to fight me on that trademark, go for it, but I'm feeling pretty confident. We have 4 semesters. So every semester you're in the program, you have a mentor. So that's a person you choose and you work one-on-one with them over the course of the semester. So that's like 2 years. Now, you're not necessarily working with the same person over the 4 semesters, but you can be assured that you're going to have this like really, fine attention on you and your work, right? Consistently. And I think that is probably like if there's kind of, I don't know, magic in the mix, that's probably it. I think that's why our alumni are publishing like at the rate they are, is because that kind of relationship really supercharges your writing. So really proud of that, and I can, tell you more about how mentored studies works, but it's for sure like something that's very like special and unique to our program. Um, I can tell you more about how the curriculum is structured, but alongside that mentorship, you also have workshops. So the more standard fare, the workshops and the seminars are also happening in tandem with those one-on-one mentorships. And we can talk about that more if you'd like if you want to know what kind of seminars, happy to chat about that. Financial support is big. I know every one of you probably has lots of questions about this. I feel really strongly about bringing in, our best candidates, not necessarily only the ones who can afford it. I'm like really big on, casting like quite a wide net and making this education possible for as many people as we can. And I know the college backs me on that because they're generous and everyone receives some financial aid, significant in all cases, and in some cases um, a substantial merit scholarship. There are also what we call visionary practice scholarships, which are essentially like a full ride scholarship. And by applying to those, by applying to the program, you're automatically considered for all of these, everything except the visionary practice, for which you do write a very brief paragraph or two, talking about how you are a good fit for that particular scholarship, right? But the merit scholarships and the other scholarships are sort of like it's baked in. We consider you for all of that. Let's see, I'm nearing kind of the end of that, but I want to talk about our alumni. I think for me, one of the most fun or the funnest, the the most fun or the funnest, most fun. Okay, so the the most fun I've had as a chair is getting to know our alumni, and I was telling Jeff and Javon as we were getting ready tonight about how we were visited last night by an alum who graduated in 2004, which means she would have been like among the very early cohort. The program's 25 years old this year, and it started in 2000. And this alum graduated in 2004 and was coming back as a guest speaker for our Tuesday Talk series. And it was really marvelous listening to her. And she's published 10 books, since leaving her MFA program. She teaches at Brown. I mean, she's like such an extraordinarily accomplished writer and educator, and hearing about her trajectory and also very special, her mentor was on the call too, so it was a little bit of a reunion happening there. um, and that's one interaction, but I'm on a weekly basis I'm in contact with our alumni, and they're working as writers. In the case of I mean, everybody's working as writers, but Kate, who I'm talking about, who graduated in 2004, she teaches alongside her writing. So she's taught it at UPenn alongside Brown, and she's published as in tandem with her work as an educator. We have graduates who have gone on to really big kind of commercial success. one that I would point out is Alka Joshi, whose book Henna Artist she started while in the program. We love these stories, like the book that started as the thesis in, in the MFA program. And Alka started at the age of, I think she was in her 50s when she started her MFA, and began a novel that went on. She worked on it a long time, and eventually it got picked up by a publisher and became a Reese's Book Club pick, which is kind of like winning, the author's lottery in a way. It's like terrific. And then like all the sort of extraordinary stuff that happens, sometimes with that, which is that book is being adapted for a Netflix series starring Frida Pinto. Like all the fairy tale stuff is happening to Alka, and we couldn't be happier for her. She's just published her fourth book. So, starting an MFA in her 50s and now, early 60s, she's just about ready to publish her fifth book, which is like she's making us look bad as faculty, And it's really like somehow you're more proud of your students, I think, than you are of yourself in some ways. And when I see someone like Alka, it just delights me to tell her story. Other alums have made kind of big names. Julie Lithcott-Hames is one of them. There are others, who I definitely check out on our website. I'll show you like where you can kind of look at their bios, but that's not the only way you can be successful. So we had another alum who she's a novelist and also leads a punk psychedelic rock band. And she visited us this term, and she publishes with independent presses and is like very, that's the most important thing, is that she maintains like creative control over her projects. So she has a different idea of like what it means, to be a writer, or the kind of writing life she wants. And that's like equally as exciting, right? So folks like that. And then there are people who go on to, one of my beloved mentees is teaching at Cal Poly, so going into college teaching, teaching in an MFA program, just like FYI, that usually it would come with at least one book publication, right? So you're not going to like immediately jam out of an MFA program, but it is possible and it does happen. We have a lot of students though who go on to teach at universities, colleges, undergrad institutions, or community colleges. There are several who go into teaching in the like K to 12 space, which you can do, by the way, if anybody's interested in that. Kind of like a little known fact is that with your MFA, you can teach it's at least 2 years without a teaching credential. So, if you're interested in teaching, it's actually, terrific to know, I think good to know in advance that that is an option for you. And I believe the college is also working on ways where you could get your teaching credential while you're studying. So I don't know if that's going to be possible for you immediately, but it's something that we want to happen very, as soon as it can. And in the meantime, through this kind of this I'm not sure like what makes it possible, but you are able to circumvent and teach immediately out of an MFA program and go into K through 12. So heads up on that. Nonprofits, publishing, radio work, podcasting, I don't know, it like just really, really runs the gamut. There's not necessarily like the one path that I could say, this is what I see a lot, or, I see a lot of everything. And it's kind of also wonderful, that there's a lot of different ways of being writer in the world, right? So those are the things that I think are super special, and I could go, deeper on any one of these, or you could ask me about something I didn't talk about, but let's kick it into Q&A if you'd like. Fa Farid?
Yes.
Farid.
Yeah, you can call me however it
Oh, you're
fits,
so
because
sweet.
everyone says it so differently, and I'm like, that's such a cool way to pronounce my name usually. But I have a question. Do
Yeah.
people usually take other modules that are not writing?
Mhm.
And if so, do you actually, in your experience, see a lot of cross-faculty collaborations, for example,
Mhm.
etc., etc.? I'm interested in that.
Yeah, absolutely. So Yes, and it happens in two ways. One is through the formal structure of the program itself. So there are 2 semesters in which you can take an elective outside of the program. That can be at the graduate level, let's say the film department. You're really interested in, writing a screenplay. And so you could take your elective in a different discipline at the graduate level. You could also in one semester take an elective at the undergrad level, subject to, sort of availability, as they say. But that's awesome for people who don't necessarily want to like jump in on the graduate student level into something like, let's say they're interested in interaction design. They don't necessarily want to, burst onto the scene in a graduate level class, but they're interested. And so it's a nice opportunity to kind of enter in a like less high stakes way. The more typical, I mean, actually, there's nothing really typical, but I've seen people take electives in furniture making and textile design. In printmaking has been like really interesting of late. I've noticed a lot of folks kind of make sense, right? They want to learn how to make their own zines, and there's a lot of that kind of DIY like printmaking that's happening on campus. Um, so that is the formal part of it. Semi-formally, you can also take, I'm forgetting what it's called, but essentially you can take an introduction to, let's say you're interested in printmaking, but you don't have the time in your schedule to take a full class. However, you want to acclimate yourself to, the machines, the presses, etc. You can get an introduction to that that allows you to work in those studios, right? And I think that's also really cool. I mean, maybe if you had a pre-existing, let's say you're a weaver or you're an illustrator, Sarah, right? And you wanted access to those laboratories and those resources, you could access them outside the bounds of the coursework, the curriculum, right? So I just wanted to mention that. And then other things happen on a more organic basis. It could be, as simple as like you run into someone and you find out they need an actor in their film and you become that actor, you know. And there are collaborations also that happen through faculty. So one of our alum, I was telling Christine about them yesterday about Tom Comita. Tom Comita published a book called The Nature Book. It's a novel comprised of collaged sentences from other books about nature. It's a little bit of a mind-bending concept, but there's not an original word in that book. Every part of that novel has been cut in a sense and pasted from other novels. Well, where did he get that idea? He got that idea because he took a film course with a professor named Kota Izawe, and Kota had done something similar in film. And these two got on really well and they started to collaborate. And it inspired Tom to embark on this project in a different medium, so in writing, but effectually trying out that concept with words that Kota had done in film, right? So that's less like, there's no necessary plan, but it can happen because you take a class with someone. It could happen in a class. I have a faculty member named Denise Newman who often collaborates with the film department, and they will come together and create projects together, right? So that can be like a cool way of getting to know people, and she'll facilitate that collaboration, right? So I hope that answers it somewhat. On the faculty level, was part of the question also like as faculty, do we collaborate?
Yeah, I guess so. You were saying the film departments. I think more rather than faculty, more like the departments that usually the creative writing departments collaborate with.
Yeah, there are definitely opportunities for collaboration. And I can think of, in my own course, I taught a seminar called The Art of Witness last year, which is a class about the ethics of representing other people's lives, basically. And my students worked on multimedia projects for that, in which they created oral histories, and we had an exhibition. We didn't want to just let the fine arts folks have fun, displaying their work. We staged a really terrific exhibition. One of my students in that class was a professional dancer. So her project was she did a dance, a whole choreography based on the oral history she'd done. So like things happen and you cannot plan them. Some cohorts, there was a cohort a few years back where a lot of people were interested in theater and they were like, where's the theater? Like we want a theater department. And they were able, with the help of the faculty in the college, to actually build a theater on campus and stage a play, So it's sort of like, let us know what you want to do and we'll either know how to do it or we'll like kind of help you figure it out too. Ditto also on, let's say you're really interested in publishing, and you and a group of students wanted to get together and publish a limited edition, an anthology of your poetry, right? I've seen it happen before. Like I'd love to see it happen again. So very much like directed by people's interests. Yeah. How big is the cohort itself? It goes, it fluctuates between about, 17 and 20, maybe 22. So I think it's small enough where you really get a lot of attention. One of my colleagues says like you can't get lost, which believe me is a good thing. You will definitely there will always be support for you, and you may need that. Sometimes life gets rough, and like there will definitely be people to check on you and like make sure you're doing your writing and like showing up and that sort of thing. Like you don't fall between the cracks. But it's not like too small where it's, you're just always and forever seeing the same people. So I think it's like a really sweet spot. It's smaller for sure than any of the other Bay Area MFA programs except for SF State. So SF State is like quite big and the others are, larger and we're this kind of like, I think, like Goldilocks, just right. You know, we're just at the right size. How does CCA help students, sorry, connect with literary communities, residencies, publications? Yeah, I actually love this question. Should I repeat that if you didn't see it? Christine's got a question in the chat. Um, I think in essence, what I'm reading there, Christine, is how do we prepare you? What's there for professional development? Is that is that it? Yeah. I think that's really important. I mean, gone are the days where you just went into the world with your MFA and held it up and, you were sort of given the keys to the kingdom. We are all in a very, there's a lot of opportunity in publishing and there are more challenges than ever in some ways. It's never been easier to publish and it's never been harder to find a reader. So we're living that life right now. I as a writer like encounter that world professionally all the time. And in the time that I've been chair, it's been really important to share the resources we have because, you probably know if you go on, do a Google search or, whatever, like it's mystifying. There's so much out there. And how do you know what's good? Like, how do what's legit? There's so many literary magazines and there's so many seeming great opportunities. So we have a class, it's a recurring class called What to Do with Your MFA. And that's a professional development seminar where people do everything from like write a pitch letter to an agent to how do you write a Fulbright application to how do you find a writing residency for after, or even, while you're in the program. So that's like the mother load of information. And then there are more just recurring throughout the year opportunities. Maybe I'll have an editor come in. I'll just think of like last year. A friend of mine is the editor. She's the publisher of Bomb magazine, BOMB magazine, which is like a really, really cool magazine out of New York. And she came on Zoom, we know each other from way back. So it's a lot of me calling in favors, but we know each other and I said, would you come on and talk to the students? Like, how do you, how do you get published in BOM? Like, what do you want at your journal, right? So like that sort of thing happens a lot where we're tapping into our network, maybe bringing in an agent, bringing an editor. When Tom Comida, the alum I was talking about with the collage novel, when they came to visit, they came with their editor from Transit Books, which is like it was such a generous gesture and a really, I think for the students, so such a valuable experience to hear how Tom worked with their editor and how, just the process of like idea to published book, like what does that even look like, right? So those are the not embedded in the curricula, but nonetheless like quite steady offerings that we have. And we're pretty open. I'm always like I'm often soliciting from the students like, what do you want? What do you want? Like, do you want like do you want an editor that not this week, but just in general, like, would you like this semester to, what kind of experience would you want to have? And I think, the one thing I will say is as important as I think it is to have these opportunities, I don't mandate them, right? So like you choose. Some people don't want to think about publishing when they're in the program. Okay, cool. Don't, just like pass, say pass on those opportunities. And I totally get that too. Like some people just want to focus on their craft and they don't want to have these conversations or necessarily even, their focus is somewhere else, right? And that's cool too. So resources are there and the choice is yours. I hope that answered it, Christine. And then as I'm thinking, I'm also thinking like so much is like just so much happens organically too. Like, you know, somebody wants to start book reviewing and you ask, your professor and your professor asks, their friend. And a lot can happen that way, right? And that's always in response to what the students want.
That's really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. You also like never really get rid of us. You definitely don't get rid of me because I'm on Instagram. And if I see like a contest or a residency or, I'm like, hey, you should apply for this. And I'm like I love to brag about my capacity, my gifts in this arena because I had a student who became very interested in translation because one of our faculty members had introduced them to the practice. And I saw that Bread Loaf Writers Conference had a scholarship for their very like highly regarded conference on translation. And I just kicked it over, through Instagram. I said, you should apply. And they're like, no, I don't think so. And I said, like, I don't think I have the money for it. And I said, apply and ask for money and just let it be their decision. And of course, it has a happy ending, which is that they got into the program. They had like the time of their lives. And I got to play kind of like, I don't know, fairy, the eternal mentor over Instagram. So we're always kind of like watching out for our people, I guess. Yeah, Sophia.
I put a question in the chat.
Oh, okay.
It's a very vague question, but in general, I'm curious what an average week would look like. Like,
Yeah.
do the classes get bookended and like all put on a Monday, and then for the rest of it, you're doing other stuff, or is it spread across?
Yeah.
How often are we on campus?
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
So you will have 3 classes every semester and fourth one is mentored study. So the 3 classes each meet for about 2 hours and 45 minutes each. You would not want all 3 of those classes on one day. You'd be pulverized. So no, we don't do that. There are semesters where we'll have 2, and that's because, reality is a lot of people commute in. And so it is, for a lot of people, it just works well to have a 12:15 to 3 class and then 3:30 to 6:15 class. I don't have more than 2 days like that, and there's usually a way in which you can configure it so that you're on campus 2 days a week. That mentored study is an hour-long session every other week, and it happens at a time that's mutually agreeable for you and the mentor, right? So let's say, you have on Tuesday, kind of give you a typical schedule. I have students right now who are in a class from, that same sort of 12:15 that I was saying. They probably would not want mentored study on the same day because that's 2 classes. They would come perhaps on a Thursday for their seminar, and then they would book an hour slot every other week on that second day, right? I don't see very often where people are coming more than 3 times a week. And um, and I would say it's it it's the reality is a lot of people are working part-time, right? So we want to make it workable for you. But at the same time, I don't want you to feel like you're just kind of commuting in and like, it's like it's a real program. I mean, it's definitely a real program, but it's a resident, like full residency program. It's a full-time program. You're not coming in at night, and kind of like sneaking in the dark hours and leaving. And it's your home. Like there are students who if they, let's say they don't live on campus, they hang out in the homeroom and maybe they're there on a day where they don't have classes and it's just like a calm place to work for them, right? Um, so if you have to think about what you need and what fits with the rest of your life, and it's very likely you'll find a schedule for yourself that will accommodate you.
And I just want to add to this, Jasmine is always working very diligently to bring students together for readings, for events. And so while you're not going into classes at night, there's usually a slew of fun things that Jasmine has arranged. I've been
Yeah.
to a few of them myself, and they are wonderful.
Yeah. It's a great community, and though there are a lot of extracurriculars, you might say. So everything from, community dinners, let's say, to open mics. Those are really popular. There's actually one happening right now. Right now, as we're speaking, there's one happening in the um, sometimes it happens in the art campus art gallery, which is really cool. So, kind of taking over other spaces on campus. Um, a lot of times we're also in our homeroom. We have also done field trips of a kind. So AWP, which is, I think all of you should know about that, is the big annual writers conference. So when that is, for sure, when it's on the West Coast, we take a contingent out with us. We get you passes. We wind up sponsoring. Jeff and I have like spent many an hour together at AWP in various cities. But we'll have a table and we'll take a group of students with us. It's a 4-day conference, 3 to 4 day conference that happens every year. It goes East Coast, West Coast, Midwest. It alternates from year to year where it is, and it will have 8 to 10,000 writer attendees. It is a very overwhelming experience if you go there alone. But it's great to go when you're in an MFA program because you have kind of inbuilt, like you kind of have a posse inbuilt there. And we have a table and we'll have, we'll usually have like a happy hour with the alumni and the faculty. My colleague Tom Barbash like loves to take people around the book fair, and it winds up being like a great entree into the literary world for those of us who come to that. And likewise, the Bay Area Book Festival, which is local, it's in Berkeley. We'll usually have a panel, and students will come. The best ones come to see their professors, but they will, they'll come and they'll be, they'll feel also, I think just a little. It can be a little scary when you go into the spaces alone for the first time as an emerging writer. So it's great to know, like, you have your people there and like we can hop into this panel together or whatnot. So just, thinking of a few ways that we get together outside of, the usual spaces and places. May I show you briefly? May I share my screen with you all just really briefly to show you um, my, sorry, bear with me for a second. So I know you probably have gone probably more than once to the to the CCA MFA website. There's also a satellite website. If you've corresponded with me, I think Nadia, I've let you know about this, but there's a satellite website with a lot of really useful, I think, resources for you. I'm just going to share my screen so that you know where that is and like what kind of material is up there for you. Um, Give me, my eyes are so bad. Okay. See which of my 1,000 tabs I need up. Okay. I think you're probably seeing my bill or something. Did that just flash before your eyes?
Yeah.
Awesome. I owe somebody. I don't know what it said. Okay. If that's the worst of it, we're good. All right. So do you see now it says CCA MFA writing?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the satellite website. Just, Jeff, if you want to like, or Joanne, if you want to drop like the address in the chat so people could,
Absolutely.
have it. Um,
Done.
so this is a website that we put together for the current students, and also to give prospective students a more in-depth sense of what is going on, what we're doing. This is Alka Joshi, by the way. She's the one I said, the henna artist, and all the fairy tale things are happening. There she is. And she left her heart at CCA MFA. If you see her, the sticker she's holding is really sweet. So there's more about mentored studies on here. The ways that we support professional development. I've got a section on that called Beyond the Page. There are some photographs and shots of like what the campus looks like. This is the homeroom space, where we have a lot. This is the thesis readings that just happened in May. And this is, there's a section on if you're in the Bay Area, or some of our events happen on Zoom. This is the student who was on, the alum that was on last night, the poet who graduated in 2004. And I've got our events on here. So, take a peek if you wanted to come and join us at any of these events. We would love to have you. A few other things, just sort of commonly asked questions about like what's funding about. Here, let me think. Is that better? Can you see that a little better, Jeff? Like, should I get an MFA? Did you see that?
Yeah,
Should I
we can
get
see
one? Should I even get one? What's the structure of the program like? Like these questions like should I work, et cetera, et cetera. So there's that, like what can one do after the MFA? The faculty bios are also on the EDU, the official page, but we've got individual profiles here. So there I am and our faculty. So take a look. I am teaching, by the way, a workshop on how to write your personal statement. And one of the points I really drill down in that workshop is the necessity of getting to know the faculty wherever you're applying, right? So you want to avoid a statement that's generic and says, your faculty are awesome. I want to work with all of them. You want to, do some digging and get to know like who's here and how might how might your writing fit with, these mentors, or what kind of space could you find for yourself? So it definitely is worth it to spend some time just like looking through this. I have a couple other things I want to point out. Oh, this is actually it's a handout on how to write a personal statement, actually. So if you can't make my workshop and you want a pretty good handout on how to write a great statement, you could actually just like go right here. I also have our MFA handbook, which has a lot of information about how workshops are structured, what are there's a great resource in there about different literary organizations, venues, publishers in the Bay Area, like a gold mine if you want to know what's here for you in San Francisco. If you want to get a sense of like what is a thesis, what does a thesis look like? This is the thesis handbook. It's the one that the students use, and it has all the details about the requirements, the timeline, the structure of the meetings, how your committee is formed, all that kind of stuff. Like, so you can really get a good sense of what am I signing up for. I also have started to list publishing opportunities. So I publish a newsletter for our students and our alum every month, and I also drop like upcoming deadlines for fellowships. Someone asked, like, how do I know about these? Well, here's one here's one way, and I vet all of these, right? So like, unlike doing a search and being totally mystified, like these are all organizations that I would vouch for. Either I've interacted personally with them, right? So that's just a little something I have there. There's also a section on alumni with little features. This is one of our alum who read with us at Lit Crawl recently, and like Q&As here with them. So, you could dig around. I won't, I won't necessarily go further than that right now, but I want you to know that that's there for you, and that likely you'll find something um, maybe you didn't find on the main website or that I didn't cover in this conversation. I'm going to stop sharing now. So definitely, check that out.
And also, I'm gonna put in our graduate programs email address here. Please feel free to reach out to us with any questions. I know sometimes when you hang up on the Zoom, you immediately think of that thing, that pressing question.
Yeah.
We are certainly here to help. So please feel free to email us at graduate programs, um, about anything.
Probably not everything, but
We get emails about everything.
you get I want to know more. So I just dropped my email in there. You can definitely write to me at any time in this process. I think it's great if you can to come stop by. Eventually we'll have an admitted students day, but I just hosted Christine briefly, but it was a sweet visit, and Christine was able to sit in on a class and get to know some of the current students. So I think that's if I were, looking, I would definitely want to know what does it feel like? Like, what does the campus feel like? What's the vibe, as they say, in the workshop? Like, who are the people that I'm going to be working with? And I'm always happy to host. Like, I'll usually find a professor in an area you're interested in. So, my poets, like, I'll set you up with a poet and make sure like you understand what what's there for you as a poet, let's say. And another thing, maybe more towards like springtime, am also really happy to make introductions to alumni or current students. So they have a lot of information. They have like a certain experience that I don't have access to, and they're really generous and lovely. They'll be on a few future calls with me. It's it is it's always really fun getting to reunite with them and get to know new students and so forth. But they're terrific. Alumni community is wonderful. Our alums are like so terrific. Which actually tomorrow night I will be hosting. We have like a monthly alum kind of just like chat over Zoom. So like it's an all year alumni kind of reunion, and that's gonna be really fun, I think, to get. It's our inaugural one tomorrow night. So this is a new initiative, but there were so many people hankering for a way to connect, right? It's lovely. A lot of them actually form writing groups post MFA, and that's awesome. But they also get curious, like, well, what were student, like I want to meet someone who's 10 years, behind me in the program or whatnot. And there's a lot of great informal mentoring that I think can come out of that, right? So actually, I should tell you one other thing, which is there's a new program where we have an alum who works on you can book an appointment with an alum. Right now, it's Jessamine Violet who is representing the writing program, but she's worked in publicity. She's worked in, obviously, she's a writer herself. She's in the music industry, and you can book, I think it's half an hour with Jessamine and just discuss like your writing future, right? So if you have questions, a lot of times I think that person who's a few years out of the program and has experience in the real world, like can be such an incredible resource for you. So that's a new thing. And I really love that. And I'm always like recommending to students, like get to know these folks because it's a great resource for you. Anything else? Any like, well, we're near the, and I can stay a little later too. Like it's not like I disappear at 6.
I have a question about kind of the artist statement for people who might be coming into writing like later on in life and don't necessarily have like, 10, 15 years of dedicated craft, but are still, interested.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the first thing I want to say is like, don't think that is a typical, experience. We definitely have many students. That's why you go to an MFA program because you want to learn, right?
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
It's not like I know everything and therefore I'm going to go to an MFA program. So, so rest assured, like we're totally capable and we'll meet you where you are. And by the same token, like I've had students who have published a book, right? And that might be a different path that they're taking, but it's no like less valid or important to us. I think also like just having that mentorship is great for that because we truly can meet you where you are when you're working one-on-one. And then how to approach the MFA statement, the personal statement, if you've been out working for a while and you don't necessarily have, I would say just bring yourself to it. I mean, they call it a personal statement for a reason. I think like sometimes, well, you maybe should come to my session on December 3rd, or definitely download that guide because I have a section on like, what if I've been out of school for a while? What do I say? You definitely don't have to hide it for sure. It only makes you a more interesting person, I think. Like, I've had, I've seen so many fascinating folks come in from different industries um, and they're wonderful members of the community. So don't feel like you have to hide it for sure. Like you can even write a lot about that and how, perhaps, well, it could be that I'm so frustrated with, sort of like working in a tech company and, now I'm really excited, but it could be, I've had this experience, working as an attorney and now I'm really interested in, how can I use some of those experiences and bridge over to creative writing, right? With an interest in social justice. Just kind of thinking off the top of my head. But don't be afraid to show who you are. Don't be afraid to say where you've been. It only makes you more interesting. I think the worst thing is to leave yourself out of it, like in the sense of like I would want when I read Sophia's statement to feel like it's a very distinct one from Christine's and from, like I want it to bear your thumbprint. So be personal. The thing I said about doing, your research a little bit. So even if you don't have like a lot of knowledge of what's going on in the literary world, like genuinely who lit a fire under you? What writer like can you blame for like leading you down this path? Like what's the writer that just like shook you and brought you alive as a writer? Tell me about that. And I actually really don't even care who it is. It could be, it could be any kind of writer, but the enthusiasm you bring to the page translates to, it says a lot about who you are and it gets me excited, right?
Hmm.
Small community, so I guess I'm thinking like let it all hang out, just like let yourself be seen, but do your research too. Like by the same token, um, I think one of the things that really kind of irks me personally is like I feel like it's just like a cut and paste exercise where, it's like in this one and then, and it's just like, they just sort of that last paragraph could be about any program, right? Um,
Hmm.
and the thing is, it's not just my vanity, but it's like it's like good for you to figure that stuff out like before you get here, like is there actually someone here who you're excited about, right? Um, Potentially, right?
Hmm.
Um, because you want to be somewhere where you're excited. That's just
Yeah, for sure.
how, like great things happen is when the fit is right, as they say, right?
Mhm.
So dig and, see who's been doing what. Like, what are the alumni doing? Like, does any of it jive with like what you maybe want to do, right? Um, you can learn a lot about a program by who's on the faculty, what alumni are publishing, the paths they take post-graduation, like, and it's all there for you, like right now.
Hmm.
I hope that helps.
Yeah, that definitely helps for the artist statement. I guess the same question kind of stands for references in terms
Mhm.
of, does it have to be somebody like if you're working full time and you're like raising kids and you don't necessarily have the time to plug into a writing community, like
Yeah,
you're writing in the car when, you can, I
yeah,
guess, what do you do for those references?
that's a great question. Because after all, you do have to submit those, right?
Right.
I would I would not sweat it and think like I need a famous writer to like do this for me. Like I don't know, have you taken some workshops, any? Like do you have a writing group? Anything like that that you
I've taken at Grub Street, I've taken classes, but I haven't necessarily like stayed in contact with anyone.
Yeah. Yeah. Um So, it's great if it's somewhere where, you have like kind of a relationship that built out from that like initial contact, right? Um, but I would always rather see a letter from somebody who actually knows you, knows something about your writing than somebody who might be more impressive or have like a certain formal qualification and doesn't know you at all, right? So
Hmm.
like I would love, just as an example, like maybe it's someone in your writing group even, right? If any of you do have a writing group, like it might be that and it could be a great letter because it's going to be more authentic and detailed and it's really going to tell me who you are. Um, by the same token, being a professor now, my God, it's been many years. I don't know, like 15, 20 years I've been in academia. Like I write letters for students who are several years out of,
Hmm.
the program. And we understand that like we do that with mostly with pleasure, So
Okay.
it's okay. Like if you reach out to an undergrad professor, like in that case, what I would say is do a little bit for them in that, maybe you want to show them some version of a personal statement, or maybe you want to show them, like not 50 pages of writing, but maybe like something short, right? I can always write a better letter for anybody. And this goes for those of you also who have more, more current relationships with faculty, with professors. Um, I always write a better letter if somebody kind of like gives me a little something that
Hmm.
I can hold on to. I'm always going to write a more thorough and persuasive letter for that student. So if you can do like a little bit of that work, and I know it's kind of cringe, like it could be a little like awkward, right? But this is what we do. Like it's only going to help, and it might be a little bit awkward, like showing your CV or showing like your writing, but um, you know, as a species, professors like are kind and they will be gracious in these instances.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is very helpful. Thank you.
I also, one other thing is I would say, like, if I don't have sort of a measure of this, but I would say for me the letters are probably the least important,
Okay.
right? Um, you write an authentic, like, you know, just an interesting personal statement. You give me your best like 15, 20 pages. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm more than halfway there, I might not even like look at that until later, when I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
some of the more like fine tuning the decisions. But um, I will always prize the writing and the personal statement over
Mm-hmm.
letter I get.
And the writing can be multiple genres, right? So like if I want to submit an essay and then poems and like a performance, like a YouTube video of me performing a piece, that would be okay.
It would be okay. I would check and Jeff and Javon can say like what it actually says online, but I believe when it asks like what's your genre, I think you can say multi-genre,
Mm-hmm.
right? And Jeff, there are surely like very particular directions on this on the website, right?
Yes, I am pulling those up right now. I think Javon put them in the chat earlier, but just to
Yeah, under that link to all the application requirements, it has the language that describes the portfolio.
I had a student, just anecdotally, the one who did a dance as her oral history project. She submitted clips of herself performing because she weds poetry and dance. So there was a reason why she was presenting the clips of herself, right? It wasn't, it had a very key place in her writing practice. So if you're bringing in film, like awesome, but it should somehow speak to you as a writer as well. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it might be that you need to, maybe ask Jeff, like, I don't know if the system allows you to upload like a video, you might need to do
yeah. Yeah,
separate.
you can absolutely upload a video. So Slide Room is very um easy that way, especially if you have it hosted somewhere already, like on YouTube or maybe your personal site or something.
Mm-hmm.
You can just drop the link in, it automatically gives the preview and all that. So it's very easy.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Any kind of last call?
All right.
All right. Well, I'm always only an email away, as is Jeff, as is Javon.
Yeah.
Come see us. If you can come on December 3rd, that would be delightful. And in the spring, if you're in the Bay Area, definitely come visit. Like, we love, love, love meeting you.
Thank you so much. This
My
was great.
pleasure. Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
All right. Good night, all.
All right, good
Everyone.
night.
Right.
Bye.